The dark merchants would never use Lightning, right? Because, well, you need a node ID, an entity. Versus Arc, you're not a node or entity. All you are is entropy, right? You're just a public key with silent payment style tweaking. So it's like, that means like no address reuse. Like by default, coins gets mixed in each round, right? In a scalable and convenient way. So it's all private. It's you can't tell who pays what and when and what amount, really. It is great and appealing for privacy people. I can see Arc dominating dark web, really. Quite literally.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to Bitcoin Audible. I am Guy Swann, the guy who has read more about Bitcoin than anybody else you know. And we've got a great show for you today. This was actually pretty last minute, and I had been thinking about Arc and everything that they've been building over there because we had, about a year ago, we had Burak on the show to talk about Arc and the unique scaling system, the unique idea of essentially a large pool of funds that you can make transactions inside of. And we talked a lot about it, but there were a handful of different limitations. And ever since then, Burak has continued to work on stuff. They have developed and created Arc Labs, and they have even created a new version of Arc that actually improves a lot of the kind of trade-offs of the previous version, of the initial version that they created. And also we go a little bit deeper into how covenants can improve these things, and then talk about his entirely new design and concept called Brollups. So this episode is all about scaling, all about layers and layer 2 specifically, and all of these different instances and technologies that we have available to us just in how Bitcoin works, and then also the technologies that we can add to Bitcoin and the future soft forks that are in contention or in discussion, are being proposed, and what they could mean to all of these new technologies and designs. So with that, shout out to CoinKite and the Cold Card hardware wallet for supporting this show. I would not be able to do this without the sponsors, without the supporters, without everybody in the Audionauts, without all of you who boost me on Fountain and do value for value and stream sats. All of you guys, you are the ones who make this work, and I am deeply, deeply appreciative. And of course, if you want a discount on your Cold Card, check it out. There is a discount code right in the show notes, and there's also a link and all the details if you want right there in the description of this show. So with that, let's get into today's chat with Burak. Brollups, Arc 2.0, and 1,000 transactions per second. All right, Burak, we are back. We're back. This is our second show together. And you came on when Arc was still an idea. And you had not basically put code to computer for that one yet. And a lot has happened on that front. But then you've also started into additional projects and additional ideas. As I was reading, it seems to extend what you had built kind of as the premise for Arc, if I'm not mistaken. But I'll let you kind of get into that. But for those of you who do not know, you should definitely go back if you want to kind of get a deep dive on the edge cases of Arc. We already did that episode. We'll be covering some of it here just because there are new things with Arc as well. And now there's actually an implementation of it, which is super exciting. But Burak, man, welcome to the show.
Right.
It's really great to have you. I'm glad we got to schedule this here at the last minute. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. I guess I was promised to be on this show about a month ago. So sorry for latency, really. I was really tied up with things.
Oh, no worries.
I guess this happens to be our second ever show, and time flies. It's been a year almost. And so I guess it's been almost about a year, more than about a year since Arc stuff come along. Like since the announcement. But things have changed a lot, right? Since then, I mean, things. Well, it's exciting times overall. No. Um, well, lots happening, lots to cover. I don't know where to start. So yeah, uh, yeah. So basically, Arc. So Arc is great, actually. No, so Arc. Like I've it's been more than about a year. I guess been working on the idea about 2 years by now. But it is. I really envision Arc to be this payment scaling tech and such. In fact, many of you know, it started off as a Lightning wallet idea, and later it turned out to be like it seemed more like a distinct layer two of its own, and
Mhm,
such story. And like it turns out over time, of course, like we've got a great reception overall.
mhm.
People overall had good reception and got some quite some good feedback, and like I mean people equally like got a good reception equally. People were equally skeptical though. People had some concerns in and around liquidity issues and lockup and interactivity and such, but like yeah, liquidity so far has been the main concern, right? Because it's a liquidity network like Lightning, but to the extreme. The more volume it gets, the more liquidity like the service provider has to look up. It's a different sort of design, but like
Out of curiosity, just so I can give my vague view of it, I don't have like deep specifics, but as I understand it, because you are guaranteeing the funds for each transaction as it happened, but you still have funds in previous transactions that the ARC service provider now basically has um, the final key essentially to take, but there's still that lock. Like it's what is it, a month lock
yeah,
or something like that? Is that right?
it's lo- yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right. It's right.
So that means that let's say there's a million sats and an exchanges hands 10 times in that month. That means you need 10 million sats worth of locked up until the month rolls over and it starts unlocking those funds again, right?
Times 10. Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
gotcha.
The more
Yeah,
the
yeah.
less it gets, like the more if you hand it over 10 times, say during that 1 month period, it means that you got to log up that many times of the funds, that 10
Hmm.
times X more liquidity. That's sort of trade off. But like it turns out, like of course I've also announced the retail design, in which I guess removes a bit of a friction there. I mean, in fact, it streamlines the liquidity problem a bit. Well, actually, like to a certain degree. To I mean, in fact, it kind of fixes the liquidity problem. Like there's some no-no-nos and no-no-nos, of course, but the V2 design, it relies on common. It's a common design. It needs a common opcode, like like checkstick from stack and C2. And frankly, like common discussions are like heating up lately. But like Covenant, it needs Covenant. But like it turns out if you can run Arc on a server, like none of these problems hold, right? Like it's a big if, though. If you can run Arc like on an Umbrella,
Hmm.
uh, liquidity is not an issue, right? Because you can run Arc on like 24-hour rounds, right?
Yeah, you don't have to do the month lockup
Yeah, you
necessarily.
don't have to do them all because like when you can run a server, you can opt into a reactive model. And when you can opt into a reactive model, that means you don't need to necessarily wait like a month. You can all it takes is just like 24-hour round, and you can opt in to more. But if you want, but I mean, like daily rounds is okay. That means like the service provider, the liquidity gets recycled daily,
Hmm.
then monthly. Um,
Are those parameters easily configurable?
Not quite really. Like, I mean, yeah, of course, like it's up to the protocol design, the
Hmm.
implementation. But like for if you were to set it for another like time period, then it means you need another on-chain outputs. Like, because like each transaction outputs, like if you to say you like for each setting, you need another transaction output. Like for 24-hour rounds, you need one. For 1 month rounds, you need another. Because
Okay.
the time lock condition is explicitly hard coded, like in
Yeah.
that's the output. So ideally, the fever configurations, the better. But like Arc is great. Like if you can run a server, it's great. Like not only liquidity becomes not only it solves the liquidity problem, you can also opt into a covenant model. Like you can emulate covenants
Hmm.
um, without a soft fork by because you can if you're online you're running a server, you can emulate covenants with music.
Hmm.
And basic, it's just basically per signing transactions, kind of like Lightning. Lightning is kind of a covenant,
Hmm.
some sort. But
Yeah. It's kind of a pseudo covenant. Yeah.
yeah, like if you're running a server, you don't need you can emulate a covenant, and
Hmm.
not only that, also liquidity gets efficient, so it works. You can deploy it in Bitcoin today,
Yeah.
literally. Well, if you think about it, and that's awesome. Like all you need to do is to run a server.
Hmm.
I know it's a big assumption, and of course, in Bitcoin Twitter and such, we're all surrounded by Bitcoiners and nerds and such. But like, none of these don't run nodes. I get it, but like, I think it's a great fit for retail, like Lightning retail
Hmm.
merchants and B2B. Like businesses can run a node, like i.e.
Hmm.
merchants can too. Like, I'm not sure if like there is a BTC Pay plugin for like Arc. Like, I'm not sure, but like you could simply run a server in instance and software, and like you don't need to take any additional steps because it's all taken care of.
Hmm.
I mean, that's the inherent design, like the choices we made, right? I mean,
Hmm.
the benefits you get versus Lightning, like you need to take care of liquidity in channels, not necessarily because it's complex. Complexity, it's not a concern because you can run stuff on autopilot. Concern is like on chain, like channel liquidity management takes on chain action, right?
Yeah.
If you were to say, if you have like, like if, liquidity is like two-edged sword, right? On one edge, you have liquidity abundance,
Hmm.
and you have to splice it out, right? Swap out, right?
Hmm.
And that's because that's unutilized. Unutilized liquidity, it needs to be swapped
Hmm.
out, spliced out, or whatever. Or like to the opposite, on the other edge, you have liquidity scarcity. In that case, you need to acquire liquidity or rent liquidity.
Hmm.
Well, it's another on-chain transaction. So, and that's what ARC solves mostly. And if you do it in like very short time frame rounds, and then if you can run a server, you can do it. Well, it's pretty much streamlined, and like it just works, right? I mean, it's also great for privacy, right?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the privacy attributes, exactly how our exchanges happen. Like if I'm running an ARC service provider and you and my brother are making an exchange, what does that look like from my side?
Yeah. So it's like Arc has built-in privacy. One could argue if Lightning has privacy or not. Depends really on the LSP model, right? Like if you have PEEP
Hmm.
LSP, and then LSP, then in theory you can collude. Versus Arc, you don't necessarily need like like a node ID, an entity
Hmm.
to really be part of it. Like i.e. like, and the dark merchants would never use Lightning, right? Because well, you need a node ID, an entity. Well, no, like I mean, it's a no, right? Like you
Hmm.
would never run ever like even attempts to think of like running a node, right? Lightning node. No, like it's a no. But versus Auric, it's you're not a node or entity. All you are is is entropy, right? You're
Hmm.
nothing but an entropy, public key, right?
Hmm.
Um, you're just a public key with like silent payment style tweaking. So it's like that means like no address reuse
Hmm.
in a convenient way, just like on-chain Bitcoin, but in a more convenient way.
Yeah.
Also, it has built-in mixing, like built-in confidentiality, right? All like by default, coins gets mixed in each round. right?
Mm-hmm.
In a scalable and convenient way. So it's all private. You can't tell who pays what and when and what amount really. So it is great and appealing for privacy people. I can see Arc dominating dark web really,
Mm-hmm.
like quite literally. Like in
Yeah.
dark mode, I'd rather run an Arc node and it's hustle free really, because it's not only convenient. That's not the point. It's also private. Like it's a mixture of some sort. Um, and like it's convenient for normal merchants, right? Like merchants who sell pupusas and elsewhere is great, convenient.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, for end users, like for institutions, it's great too, because like you can run B2B volume on Arc.
Mm-hmm.
It's just simply because like you're running it on daily rounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Institutions can run nodes. Um, and liquidity is not an issue there, and you can run B2B like retail, like daily commerce and such on Arc. It's great, but um, like there's a big if, and that if is running a node. It's fine, I guess. But for normies, yeah, that's where the problem comes, right? That's what I've envisioned Arc to be, was to really be this this consumer facing products like scaling solution.
It's like the solution to retail. It's like the solution to Wallet of Satoshi, right? Is how do you scale and make Wallet of Satoshi non-custodial
Right.
while still enabling kind of a lot of those features and expectations of Wallet Satoshi, and enabling a service provider to essentially take all the complexity out of it. So everybody can always redeem their coins with or without Wallet of Satoshi being around, and also be able to get privacy from Wallet of Satoshi and the anon set of everybody using it, um, and not have this huge on-chain footprint at the same
Right.
time.
All at the same time, right? That's the
Yeah.
problem. Well, actually, this is what Brollup kind of solves, except privacy. Well, we'll come to Brollup in a bit, but
Mm-hmm.
well, for Arc, yeah, end users, like, yeah, like we could first two barriers there, right? First, you need a covenant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Period. Like, for end users, you need a covenant. For like institutions and like merchants now, because you can run a server. For normies,
Everybody
like
can just run one all the time. Yeah.
all you have is a smartphone, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
can't sign, you can pre-sign. Um, maybe some watchtower of some sort, but no, that's semi-trusted. But like again, all you have is eCash, right? Or some custodial solution for now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I actually got a question. I didn't realize. I'm not 100% sure if I knew how this worked. Is since you have kind of like a silent payment tweak to the public key when you're making a payment, is it
Yeah.
much more similar to, from the user side, much more similar to a um, like an on-chain address
Oh,
where
well,
like it's a push payment? Like, do you have to be online to sign to receive, or can someone push a payment to you through the Arc?
yeah. So for Arc, assuming you're running a server, well, it could be that it depends on the implementation, but in theory, it
Mm-hmm.
could be it's just like an address, this dedicated
Mm-hmm.
address, provided to you, right? It's like a dedicated piece of string.
Mm-hmm.
Well, could be an npub too, I guess. Like in theory, it does, yeah. It's just dedicated piece of address, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and whenever you attempt to make a payment, you join around, kind of like coin join, you register inputs and such. But like then the output is tweaked. The operator cannot tell who you are paying to or attempting your payment to. So
Mm-hmm.
it's tweaked by some data only known between the two parties, some Diffie-Hellman key exchange magic in between. Like, it's a dedicated address, but the resulting output is is unlinked or unidentifiable to
Okay.
the dedicated address. So that's where the magic is.
Gotcha. So the address isn't like doesn't expose all of the payments that go to you. It's just a way to have a way for someone to generate something that will only be unlockable by you. So it's not like a pub key. If I post my pub key, everybody could just know all of my addresses and all of my balances.
You're not getting paid to the dedicated address.
Yeah.
The dedicated address or information, the piece of string, is only used to derive your destination, the destination, which is unlinkable to the dedicated address. Of course, amounts and everything is public, but it's a mixer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a big much of an issue. Yeah. So versus are BroLab, to the opposite. It's a privacy nightmare. It's a nightmare.
Okay.
If you're into privacy or privacy guy, well, it's not your type. Like, it's trade-offs and engineering of trade-offs. So it is an account model. Like, BroLab is an account. We're following an account model.
Mm-hmm.
If you're familiar with Ethereum and EVMs, it's very much like that. It's much worse than on-chain Bitcoin, because on on-chain Bitcoin, you have like at least address. You don't have address reuse there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you don't address, you can separate addresses in the same wallet, and as long as you don't cross-sign them, it won't be obvious that you own them both. So,
right.
So
it's
coin control.
Spectrum, right? If you put Bitcoin privacy in the spectrum, like Oric is on the far edge, right edge, super private, like superior privacy. You not only tweak the keys, you also mix them.
Mm-hmm.
By default, baked down into protocol,
mm-hmm.
right? The default by privacy by default. And maybe on-chain Bitcoin in the middle of the spectrum, not bad, but not that great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, BroLab, it's an account model. It's a goddamn account model. It's always the same address and publicly available. Everyone knows who pays who and whatnot. Just like Ethereum, Bitcoin. BTC, like literal BTC. It's not a federated BTC of some sort. It's trustless. It's a real Bitcoin. It's self-custody. I'll come to details, but like, it's Bitcoin. It's self-custody.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it is, it's all public. Not appealing to many. Perhaps to some it is, like maybe to some people might prefer like publicity over confidentiality, for verifiability, certain reasons of or whatever. But like, it is a public design. It's all public. Like, we'll have explorers, like mempool, like you can see who pays who, literal. Like, that's not the case with Lightning. It's kind of like on-chain Bitcoin, but it's even worse because you know who pays who. Literal. Like, literally what MPub paid on MPub and what amount. Public. Well, that's a downside. Well, to some it's not a downside, but to some it is. To many Bitcoiners, like for the average DeFi user, like that's what you're used to. That's what they like use it anyway. And they're the same. For Bitcoiners, well, yeah, it's not quite like not nice. Like, they will not opt into this kind of trade-off. This type of construction is probably a non-starter for them. But like, like the pro is, well, the upside, it is maybe it's better to dive more into specifics. So BroLab is a payment channel design. It's maybe the broader category for this would be the state channels, the broader category. It's not state channels, but maybe better to call it.
So it's a little bit like Lightning architecture-wise?
Yeah, it's like Lightning, by category state channel, but maybe better call it payment channel, right? It's simpler for the better. It's a payment channel design, like Lightning, but it's all public. Like, you have channels, bunch of channels, and there's global state, and global state is channel state aware. So you have channels, and you make payments between the channels, and everyone sees and knows and audits who pays who. Like, you make channel from a channel to another channel, and everyone sees it. Versus Lightning, you have a channel and it's all private. Only the involved parties, know what's going.
Know where the route went.
Yeah, like Lightning, it's all between the two parties, me and the counterparty. Self and remote, only the two parties know what's going on. Versus BroLab, well, it's a channel too. it's me and channel partner. My channel partner is the operator, kind of like LSP or ASP. But like everyone knows who pays who and from what channel to what, like from the channel to the destination, what amount. It's all made public. It's all public. And we do so by putting it on Bitcoin data in a very compact way, in such a compact and compressed way that it scales well, like get like 3 digit TPS numbers. Maybe we can come to that in a bit, but like the benefit for doing that, of course, the downside is it's public. It's bad for privacy, but
well, from the context of privacy, is there anything that exposes who you are on the network? So, like, let's say I wanted to create an anonymous account, do 200 payments, and then exit the Brollup. Is there anything explicitly that exposes me other than the fact that that account, if I post it publicly from my Nostr ID or something, well, then obviously it's mine, or I'm attesting to the fact that it's mine. And so people can then connect all those payments. But if it's just random and out there, and let's say I used a VPN or I did it over Tor, is there anything specific that links it in any other way? Or is it just that all payments are visible to that account? And if you can find out who owns the account, then you have no privacy.
All payments are visible to everyone at all times from start from lifetime, start of the lifetime till the end. Like when you impact or whatever, like it's all the same address key. NPubs. Use NPubs.
It's basically like handing out your public key to somebody else and then making that public.
Even you know who you're following on Nostr, and you just send your dude some sats.
Exactly. It's like Zaps. Zaps are completely open. Yeah.
Kind of like that thing, but it's more like a checking account manner, right? It's more a checking account. So it's like this payment layer. It's a layer 2. It's a layer 2, but it's all public and NPubs, and everyone sees who pays who, kind of like an EVM setting. And we do so by inscribing, more in Bitcoin terms maybe, for the better to understand, inscribing the data, like the payment info, kind of like maybe compact block filter serve, but not really. Like inscribing very minimal data, like putting data on Bitcoin in such a compact way that it gives you and like it leaks who pays who and what amount, and what's not. And the benefit is that you don't have to deal with backups. No backups.
Wait, what?
No backups.
How does that work?
Because it's public, and what we're putting on chain is also it lets you reconstruct the channel state by just looking at the data, Bitcoin on chain data. You can reconstruct your channel state simply by
so you can just check against it with your seed. I mean, you still have your seed backup. You just don't have to have a wallet backup.
Exactly. All you need to remember is your private key, right? Your NSEC or whatever mnemonics, and like you don't have to deal with the wallet, like the channel states, and you don't have to back up them. It's all on chain. Like you can reconstruct the whole thing from the Bitcoin on chain data. Like I'm certain, I guess I'll happily trade privacy for that. But to some, it's appealing. It's kind of like on-chain Bitcoin, right? You don't have to deal with wallet backups. All you need to remember is your private key. So the trick is storing data, putting data on Bitcoin, like the entire state, right? It's a global state, right? It's effectively BroLab is a payment rollup, or Bitcoin rollup, right? Hence the name suggests. It's a payment rollup, of course, plus smart contracts. Well, maybe like we'll come to that later. But like it's like at its core, it's a payments rollup for Bitcoin. It's a layer 2 with unilateral exits, right? It's there is no trusted setup of any. It's like Lightning. It's proper, like it is a true layer 2. Of course, people have different definitions on what a layer 2 is and what not. And my definition is like a piece of different software. You transact Bitcoin off the chain. You can settle back on chain unilaterally without asking for permission. by I guess that's the broadest definition, my definition too. And by that definition, it's a true layer two.
Mhm.
There is Lightning. Well, covenantless Arc is also another layer two. If you can run a server, BroLab is another layer two. Sidechains are just in category of their own, not like quite real. Layer two is a multi-sig. There's also this like trust minimized protocols and BitVM. I guess it's its own category too. But like
sidechains are just kind of like multi-sig service provision. Like multi-sig isn't possible in the dollar realm, so it's literally its own category of thing of like a conglomerate of companies or service providers. Like
yeah. Like it's multi-sig or merge mine of quorums or like you're trusting certain entities, which could in theory take your coins, and not, of course, sidechains are not exciting enough for that reason. To some, I guess, trust minimized protocols are like, I guess, are the new cool thing, like one of n trust assumption instead of n of m, because sidechains are n of n, like at least n minus n needs to be trusted versus one of n, at least one needs to be trusted. So that's an orders of magnitude like improvement over self-custody. But like Lightning here, like BroLab, it's not that. Like it's true layer two in the sense that it has unilateral exits. So it just like Lightning, of course, there's certain trade-offs like liveness. Lightning has to, right? You have to be conm check online if there is an invalid state. There's certain, like, it's a reactive model. You're opting into certain security model, but like, of course, it's trustless at its core, right? You're not relying on any. You're not relying or asking permission from anyone. You are the sole owner of your funds with unilateral exit. The early version of BroLab relied on a trusted setup, but the new version doesn't. It's a state channel design. Versus the early version, it was a virtual UTXO based model. Here, it's virtual UTXO plus virtual channel. So BroLab, it extends on Arc. It's an extension. I was thinking to name it ArcVM. Actually, ArcVM, but
ArcVM.
But I thought then BroLab is more catchy because it extends on Arc. It is an extension. It's kind of like a layer on top of Arc. If you think about it, it like I wouldn't say it heavily borrows from Arc. Its concepts. It extends on Arc. Like it is Arc plus state channel design plus VM DA. Like there's more to it. There's the Arc. It has Arc characteristics, but it also has roll-up characteristics. And I thought BroLab is a catchy name, so we'll let it. So like it's a shared UTXO model, like Arc. With shared UTXO and virtual UTXOs and connector outputs. The liquidity provider, it's a liquidity protocol like Arc. In fact, we're using dynamic frost, like defrost. That's the new cutting edge thing. So it's like there's the operator, the entity, and who provides liquidity. It's just like a quorum. It's a quorum entity, but it's represented in a single key. And if you can add, remove members without changing the key, like it's a single entity, immutable, unchanged, fixed at all times. You can add, remove members, or change the setup parameters, n of m parameters, without changing the key, the full key.
Interesting. So you can actually update inside the BroLab without actually an on-chain footprint during the update.
Footprint. Well, actually, there's footprint in every session, right? But like without, in a more convenient way, let's say, like you can, like the design relies on updating the key actually. But that's another thing. But like you have two keys: the dedicated key, the well-known key, who represents the operator. The operator is the block producer who produces the roll-up blocks, who is also your channel counterparty, the tool remote. It also provides liquidity, but we represent it in a single key at all times. But there's also the dedicated, there is also the dynamic key, so dynamically changed. and used in the channels. And the dedicated key, sort of the dedicated key, signs the dynamic keys. And we did this before we're doing this for dynamic for deterministic non-selection for signing channel states. So to save bytes, like for the in the data availability layer, to a signature is like the R value, S value, 32 bytes, 32 bytes, like 32 bytes each. To save 32 bytes from the nonce, we keep it dedicated. Sort of it's sort of like we are hard coding a set of nonces in a pool, hard coded in the client. You can also inscribe them in Bitcoin, but like you have this pool of hard coded pre-selected nonces. And you are sort of whenever you sign a state update from a channel, the virtual channels are also virtual here.
Yeah.
Like virtual channels from virtual UTXOs. And like whenever you to update a channel state, you create a signature. The operator signs a state update in favor of the recipient. There's a signature. Yeah, and the nonce, the signature, the public nonce is pre-selected from the pool, and you only put the S value, only inscribe, so to speak. You only put the date on Bitcoin, the S value, and that's also subject to like witness discount, like 820, like 75% witness discount. So it's just 8 V bytes in size, plus very compact data that represents the transaction, right? The summary, the transaction summary data, like who paid who by index, not the full keys, but like 2 byte indexes. It's an account model, and we are indexing the keys. We like this unpub directory, which gets dynamically changed according to a ranking system. So like we represent like who pays who, like from to value, like according to a rank-based ordering sequencing sequence system, and only the compact index number ends up in the block and consumes the block.
Basically, a reference rather than the actual
only the
reference, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Only the reference, not the key, full key. Plus the S value, signature S value, which is 8 V byte in size, ends up in a block. Like it gets produced, like it operator puts the value in a block in DA, but it's all atomic, right? From sender to recipient, the data, you're making a payment from a channel to another, plus the data. It's like a payment plus the data in Bitcoin. Versus Lightning, no data at all. It's all off-chain. Here, it's very minimal data. If you run the numbers, you get 3-digit TPS. Like you have like 150-ish TPS with this construction. Well, actually, even more, like something like 200 for plain transfers. If you were to do a plain transfer from an account to another and a value, especially it's a common recipient, a common value. Like if you're sending to someone who you are frequently transacting with, the frequent value gets even higher. But like there is we can also further reduce this. Like we can further optimize the DA with a soft fork. Like if we have cat and checksum from stack, for instance, we can aggregate these individual S commitments in one, and that gives us, in theory, like if we have cat and stack, instead of like putting individual S values, we can put their sum, the root, the factorial Merkle root, and only publish the root in Bitcoin, and then it gets us like 4-digit TPS. Like it gets us, like I ran the numbers up to like 1,600 TPS, like 1,600 TPS in Bitcoin. We had cat checks it from stack, like assuming it we can optimize DI even further, like 10, like orders of magnitude, like 10x more. but like always room for optimizations. But the trick is like it's a state channel design, right? Like it's like Lightning, but it's public. You know who pays who. In a publicly verifiable way, you can reconstruct the state by just reading the bytes. Of course, Bitcoin only sees the bytes, and the secondary clients interpret the bytes. And so that's the payments part.
I'm curious about something. This is a little bit of a tangent here, but since we've kind of brought it up a couple of times right now, is there are a number of covenant proposals. Like there's a ton of them actually now, it seems like. And check sig from stack, is that also essentially a covenant proposal, or is that more like when you mention cat and check sig from stack, are those interchangeable, or does the model actually need both of those to work as designed?
Yeah, so check sig from stack is not a covenant of code.
Okay, what is check sig from stack then?
Well, many people claim that so it's effectively check sig, but you also have control over the what message is being signed, right? So with check sig, you don't have control really over what message is being signed. The message being signed is the transaction you're transacting, the inputs and outputs and such, the sequence numbers and so, like the transaction you're signing.
The transactions is this attached to the signature.
Yeah, transaction hash, right? You're transacting is the message you're being signed, and you don't really have control over that, like full control over that. And versus check from stack, well, it's like an arbitrary signature check operation, right?
You can sign anything in the
anything like an oracle
signature data.
Yeah. Also, there's some trick to like combining check sig with check sig from stack to put to get the sig hash per image, the sig hash data onto stack. But well, it doesn't quite really work because you don't have control over the odd point, the input being signed. So it doesn't get us covenants, contrary to what many people claim. Check sig from stack, it's just an arbitrary signature checking operation on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You can sign hello world and well, it's valid. Let's go. Here we go. It's not a common opcode. When combined with cats, well, check sig from stack combined with cat gets us covenants. Well, cat alone, in theory, also gets us covenants.
Yeah.
It's not tricks.
What is your feeling on cat? So everything that I was exposed to, especially towards the beginning of this, it seems extremely unintuitive. Like, and the difficulty is that, like, if I don't understand something, I am far less likely to just be like, sure, whatever. And I have slowly come more towards this direction just because Cat has the discussion about like how to put in clearer limits as to exactly how it can be used or what level of computation would be limited in how Cat is used. But what's your thoughts on the various covenant proposals like OpVault, CTV, Cat, I guess TX hash, I think, is a covenant thing as well.
What's up, them? Yeah, I mean, I really...
Give me your breakdown. What do you want out of it? Which one is the best one in your estimation? And which one would you say is the most secure or the one that you're least concerned about, I guess, that still solves your problem?
I really don't know, man. Like,
you don't know?
Yeah, it's politics, drama, and everything. No, like I mean, I'm pro covenants.
Yeah,
I mean, I've been doing covenant research and development for almost 4 years by now. Like, I've built script wizard and they're all covenants, the cutting edge stuff. I built an AMM with Cat and Liquid, and it's live in production today. And built a script IDE. Like, I've been doing covenant stuff for almost 4 years by now. And in fact, BroLab is a result of like a 4 years long covenant research and development. I think is the best form of what a Bitcoin lab could be. But like, covenants, politics. But like, yeah, aside from politics, like in terms of pure tech, like a technical aspect, like I'm pro covenants.
Yeah.
I wish, we really had covenants in Bitcoin. today. I mean, for obvious reasons. I mean, BroLab works without covenants, yeah, but covenants make it a lot better, a
Yeah.
lot more efficient, a lot more. It scales it further,
Mm-hmm.
and makes implementation easier. I mean, I'm pro covenants. Period. I I wish we had CTV real in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Like, I really wish we had CTV in Bitcoin, like today. I really wish, but that's all I can do.
Yeah.
I can only wish, right?
Yeah. CTV has seemed to me the simplest, like the most naive implementation, in the sense that like it's kind of easy to see its edges, like what you can do with it. And it's also been around the longest, it seems like,
Yeah,
from
that's right.
everything I've seen.
True.
And
In terms of technicality, yeah, like it
yeah.
checks all the boxes. It's been around for years, and well, unlike it's what I guess most well tested. There's some bounties, and unlike it's the simplest form of a covenant you could get, and it's quite efficient in what it does.
Mm-hmm.
But none of these things matter, right? Like
Yeah.
when it comes to politics, politics not. It's hard to explain these things. But like, I mean, of course, it's a good thing to like culturally in Bitcoin. We tend to be more on the like conservative, like side of thing. Like we're more on we are tend to like when you push for self work, it like naturally triggers the immune system in Bitcoin, and Bitcoiners like to preserve it, like on a conservative side, preserving Bitcoin. And like sort of like not quite receptive to changes, protocols, stuff on Bitcoin. That's understandable. But like
Mm-hmm.
CTE, I mean, I really wish it, but like Bitcoin is above all of us now. Like, it's my opinion is not quite relevant. I mean, I really wish we had CTV, and we might have it. Like, I don't know, or something like CTV v2, like TXH might work
Mm-hmm.
as well. Introspection of codes, I think it's not like, I mean, it's super simple. Like we have them on Liquid and up and running for years. And
You're talking about things like Cat?
CAD is simple too. Like implement, like it's simple, very simple. But like there's it's a bit of a gray area, unknown unknowns, known unknowns, whether it could enable certain things that might harm Bitcoin. Well, I'm not sure if it's true, but like you never know. It's Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Like Cat is. I mean, I do like Cat. Like, I mean, I wish we had Cat again. Like Cat, when it's combined with checksum from stack, it gives Brollup 10x scale.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's in the end up to the community to decide. It's really hard. It's a rough consensus.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to pick one software, it would be CTV. Really,
Yeah.
just one would be CTV. If I had to pick two, that would be Cat plus checksum from stack, because you can emulate CTV that way. If I had to pick three, well, Cat, CTV, checksum from stack.
The most important thing that you can do in order to secure your Bitcoin is to use a secure, trusted, long-running hardware wallet in the Bitcoin space, and do one that is Bitcoin only, like the Cold Card. Not only do they have the Cold Card Mark IV, which is the cypherpunk calculator, but they also now have the Cold Card Q, which has the large screen, has a full QWERTY keyboard, has a flashlight, and a QR code scanner. It is the cypherpunk BlackBerry of the Cold Card series. And if you are looking to keep your Bitcoin safe and you want all of those advanced features, you want to do some custom setup with multi-sig, you want security features for those edge case scenarios where you need a brick me pin or a dummy pin that opens up to a fake wallet, the Cold Card has it all. And if you don't want to complicate your setup, or you don't need any of those advanced features, you can use it simply as a secure default Bitcoin signing device. Keep your seed, keep your keys off of your desktop computer, off of your phone, and securely and easily use your Bitcoin. If you do not have a Cold Card, or you haven't even checked it out yet, go to coinkite.com. The link will be right in the show notes. And don't forget that when you are at your checkout, the code Bitcoin Audible, all one word, will get you a discount that will also be right in the show notes in case you forget about it. Keep your keys safe and get yourself a cold card. Does CTV plus CheckSig from Stack give any benefit to like how a BroLup or ARC would scale?
We need cat plus like checks from stack, really.
Gotcha. Okay.
CTV plus anything else don't work here in this construction. Well, I mean, to give Brollup a scale, right? The scale I mentioned earlier, you need cat plus checks from stack. Like in cat, you could emulate anything almost. Like almost again. Like I mean, there's been some FUD around cat. Like let's be real. I mean, cat is not going to magically like somehow like trigger some like unknowns and harm to Bitcoin. Like it's not going to weirdly somehow break Bitcoin. No, like come on. like
you don't find it realistic to the concerns that are typically pushed.
Yeah, like I mean, there is this whole concerns around. I mean, I understand these concerns.
How long has it been on Liquid?
Oh my god. Okay. Well, been like I guess since 2015. It's been there for almost.
Wow. So it's been there the whole time, basically. Yeah.
Like it's almost a decade now.
Yeah.
I mean, what it does is simple, but I'm not quite really buying into like it enables everything narrative. No, that's not true. Because you know what? Because you need tweak ads to do recursive combinates. Actually, cat alone is not powerful enough. If you have cat alone, you cannot do anything. All you can do is introspection. You introspect stuff, great. You can do some Merkle tree verification and such, great. You could do like one-time show of signatures, like zero cost transactions on Bitcoin, great. But like you cannot do anything. Come on, let's settle on that at least. Let's be real. Like you cannot do anything. To do anything, you need tweak ads combined with cats. And by that, you can do full introspect. Like you can do like fully recursive combinates. Because with Taproot, because we're adding Taproot to we're adding cat, not to SegWit. We're adding it to Taproot. And we want outputs work with tweaking. Like it's not enough to introspect the script pubkey. Mm-hmm. You also need to be able to introspect its tap script. And effectively, tap script all the way to root is tweak added with the inner key. And then you get the script pubkey. With cat, all you do is introspect the output, the script pubkey, and that's not enough. Mm-hmm. You also need to be able to untweak the inner key out to get all the way down to the script, the tap script, to be able to actually introspect and change some
state. Basically require information again that was already previously required, in a sense, so that it could carry with it across time.
Carry state, yes, to carry state and change state being carried, you need optweak add combined with cat. And optweak add is what makes things scarier. Mm-hmm. But cat alone, it's a FUD, right? It enables everything as a FUD. And Bitcoin transactions are self-isolated, right? What transaction is self-isolated from another and doesn't affect the other? It's an opt-in model, right? Mm-hmm. If you're using cat in your construction, it does not affect your like any other. It only affects the transaction being that uses the cat. It's the transaction that contains cat in it. Because cat constraint is only the transaction it contains itself. Like it's that contains the cat. Transactions are self-isolated, and cat alone is not. If in fact does not enable everything, because all you do is introspection, plus a Merkle proof verification, and in fact one-time show of signatures is great too. Like for BroLab, in fact, it could make things work zero-conf. I've been trying myself to do zero-conf like constructions in Bitcoin with one-time show of signatures, but I couldn't find a way really to do it like on Bitcoin. Like, no, you need really cat or something like and some bitwise stuff like or some data manipulation of opcode of some sort, or some check-sig deterministic nonce. Like cat adds a lot of value. It adds immense like value to Brollup. Like I can only speak to my project. It adds a lot value. I'm not buying into the fact it doesn't enable any, like, no. But it's irrelevant in the end, right? It's not my say, really.
Yeah.
What merged to Bitcoin, it's not my say. I'm sorry. It's irrelevant. I really try to stay away from politics as much as I can. Sometimes get involved a bit, but like, no, it's not my. I like drama in general. I like drama. I wish we had more drama. I guess discussions were heating up lately in BT. Great, let's go. Yeah, we need to print out something anti-opcats just to trigger drama. I'm pro cat. Like, well, let's be on the other side of like on the opposition side. No, for the drama. Like, I'm thinking of to print out some anti-opcat stuff. Like just to draw for drama, for the sake of drama. I love drama. I don't know. Yeah, fun. Covenants, regardless. I think I'm optimistic. Like, I'm optimistic in general. Like, we'll get covenants. I think at some point. I guess. I don't know. At least I hope. But like, I think eventually, right?
It seems likely. There's enough. Like most of the argument is about what proposal, like most of the frustration about it is the lack of consensus on which to do rather than consensus on whether to do it, I guess is.
But really, like a soft fork, an opcode takes a champion not only in the form of the author, but also in the form of projects. You do really need a project to champion the code. That could be art, that could be BroLab, could be something else, the timeout tree. BroLab is a form of timeout tree. Or ORIC, like it could be anything really, like some vault construction or whatever. Like you need one or more projects worthy enough, compelling enough for Bitcoiners, people to consider, for them to run signal, run the consensus changes in their nodes, and like for them. It needs to be compelling enough, and perhaps more. There's perhaps more to it. Compelling enough perhaps isn't enough. But like again, in the end, like it's not a paradox, right? If it's good enough, like if people really find value, it's rough consensus, right? If enough people find value in something, well, then it's compelling enough for them to activate it, and otherwise not. Like I don't know how to describe it. Like it's not self-contradictory, like if there's value really, then they'll activate it for their own benefits. Otherwise, it's like natural selection sort of thing. Like it's like either 1 or 0, right? Like there's no middle ground. If it's beneficial, if people benefit, they'll activate. If not, no.
Yeah,
it's not a paradox. Eventually, I guess we'll have some compelling and obvious case. It's rough consensus, right? It's not like full consensus. So I guess people at least not like blindly like opposing covenants, right? Like they are somehow open. I guess things have changed. Things have been changing over the past, let's say, 2 years. Like people have been like opposing covenants, I guess, becoming more and more in favor of covenants lately, I guess.
The controversy around it seems to have died a lot. Like there's a lot less people arbitrarily against it. It seems like maybe just the energy has been sapped out of it.
Ossification, I mean, ossification is low IQ. Period. Ossification is low IQ, like literal. Like it's low IQ, guys. Like no, please don't be. Of course, like at some point, yes, but the ossification now is lowest IQ. No, I don't even have respect for these people.
Yeah.
No.
I have a couple questions about Arc and Brollup
Yeah.
in a slightly different context. So, talking about transactions per second and how these things scale, am I correct in understanding that the scaling capacity is largely in the volume within these systems, in the sense that if we have an arc with 100 people in it and only one person does a transaction within 10 minutes, as an arc, let's say I'm the service provider, I will still update it with one transaction, and it will be a one UTXO to one UTXO update on chain. And essentially, there will be no scaling benefit. It will just be a normal on-chain transaction.
Like a normal, as if
Yes.
as if you were using an on-chain wallet.
Gotcha.
Still not.
And then this is basically the same with Brollup, correct?
Yeah, it's a shared UTX. That's right, sir.
Yeah.
It's like Arc in that sense. I guess that goes for all shared UTXO based models.
Yes.
Got it. And they have they I guess suffer from this onboarding problem.
Yeah.
In the onboarding phase, you've got, I guess, operator ideally should make it like subsidize maybe fees for users to incentivize the use.
It would basically be like a tiny little futures contract for the Arc service provider. Is like, what fee do I pay to bring on this community? Like, you would almost want a community already built out in order to deploy this to for the volume. Now, in addition, there is no reason to send out a transaction to update if nobody does a transaction, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So you're just waiting for transactions to come in before any activity occurs.
You're not like transacting in regular intervals. You're transacting as long as there is a transaction request.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, like it's same for BroLab, for I guess time trees, for Arc, same for I guess UTXO based models.
Okay. Cool. And is there any reason? Is there anything specifically that limits this, where the transaction that goes to the end user is actually a Lightning channel, and then people can still pay and use it as Lightning, and the liquidity changes happen as an Arc shared UTXO or a Brollup shared UTXO?
Oh, that's what BroLab works. BroLab,
I guess that's right. Brollup is channels. So the updates only occur when you're changing balances.
Yeah. So maybe to clarify in the front, so Arc is one way only, like unidirectional. Like you have Bitcoin, you spend a coin, you create a new coin on an ongoing basis up until the time like on an ongoing basis, and the more velocity the protocol like it gets, the more liquidity you have to look out, and that's the problem, the concern people brought. Oh yeah, great. And of course, if you run it on 24-hour runs, that's not an issue. We covered that earlier. Versus Brollup, well, Brollup, you can run Brollup like on you don't need to run a server, obviously. Brollup runs on like 3-month rounds. Like you have a shared UTXO that expired in 3 months. And that's quite a reasonable amount of time, right? For normies. And that means in every 3 months, and like on a monthly basis, you need to refresh your coins back to yourself to retain the liveness, the self-custody. And the reason it works is because it's channel design, right? It's not unidirectional, it's bidirectional. So you turn these UTXOs effectively. Don't get me wrong, we also have the UTXOs here, like VTXOs, virtual UTXOs, shared UTXO. But what we do is we turn these VTXOs into virtual channels. Right? I mean, we like this term virtual. It's kind of Bitcoinery thing, like the virtual bytes, virtual TXID, virtual UTXO. We like this prefixing stuff. Like this specific prefix, virtual.
The naming convention.
Convention. Yeah. So virtual channel. It's a virtual channel. It's a payment channel yet to be broadcasted, but can be broadcasted unilaterally in any time and settled back on chain. Great. So it's a layer 2. It's not a bearer channel. It's virtual. Still 12, it's a channel. Maybe we can come to channel specifics a bit, because like it's kind of Allen symmetry. It's not like in the channel in the Lightning sense. It's Allen symmetry. symmetric, no revocation, no nothing. We can come to it in a bit, but like
So you and I, as channel partners, would hold the exact same state rather than in Lightning, where I hold a state that punishes you and you hold a state that punishes me to make sure that we agree on the current state.
Yeah, so we
And-
don't have punishment here. It's kind of like L2, like ELTOO, the project.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like L2. It's surprisingly it's Allen symmetry.
Mm-hmm.
Like turns out we can do Allen symmetry in Bitcoin like today. We don't need APO.
Mm-hmm.
I figured out how to do it. Literally, like, that's how BroLab works. It's Allen symmetry. It's symmetric channel design. You got the same state for both parties, to self to remote. It's the same state, and you don't revoke the old states. You always overwrite them. Versus Lightning, well, it's really complex to design. BroLab channels are super easy to reason about. Like no revocation. You don't revoke all, and also you overwrite the earlier one with a higher precedence using a degrading time lock scheme with tap trees. There's a bunch of
basically just with a later sequence, so that it's always the latest one that will outdate the previous one. So as long as it just gets broadcast at some point, it will just replace it.
We'll replace it with the higher one, the higher precedence one. It's kind of like, it's basically like a tap tree with like, say, 64 leaves. That means the channel can get 64 state updates throughout its lifetime. And in each leaf, you have a degrading time lock scheme. And when this channel gets broadcasted, then that's when this time lock gets triggered because it's relative lock time, not absolute. And that means that and because it's a degrading scheme and you got 2 of 2 in each leaf plus a time lock, it means that you start from the first leaf, say has like with an expiry of say 64 days, and the second leaf 2 of 2, 63 days, third leaf 2 of 2, 62 days, and the fourth leaf and 61, and so on. And that is the grading setup, and the more state updates you sign, the higher precedence the current channel state gets. And it means in the unilateral closure case, but the forced closure case, the channel state ends up in a block is the one that has the highest precedence. So it's a tap tree masked plus degrading scheme. It's kind of a novel scheme, I guess. Bitcoin, I guess I made it up myself. Like it's a symmetric design and no revocation. Also, no middle stages. Like we don't have middle state. We don't have HDLCs or PTLCs. Nothing. It's just to self and to remote. It's just me and a partner party who owns who. Really, that's it. The payments are we're connecting payments through like connectors. So typically, how it works is when you're to attempt a payment, you add a HDLC along the route all the way to recipient, and it settles back, and then all the way back to your node, and you revoke the HDLC. And with the preimage, like HDLC is being removed with the preimage. Well, it's quite a complex process overall. Versus here, well, no HDLCs, payments are atomic. Like you have a channel, it's a payment channel. In order to make a payment, well, you are simply making like the counterpart, the recipient does not need to be online; it's offline. That's another thing. You don't have to be online. And what recipient? So it's me, the service provider, who's also a channel partner, and channel partner of everyone, every individual channels, and there's a recipient. And if I'm to make a payment from my node, my channel, into the recipients, then what happens is the operator, who also happens to be channel partner of the recipient, signs a state update in favor of the recipient and puts the S value in witness and adds a connector, virtual connector. It's a specific technical term. Connector outputs is like a technical thing used in BitVM, BroLab, org, think about the thing. Ensures the atomicity of payments. So basically, S value sort of inscribed in Bitcoin, puts the data in Bitcoin, it's the witness, and adds a connector output back to my channel, and I sign off with the 12.2 to ensure the atomicity There's some involves the magic sprinkle, but like it's effectively atomic. Like it's immediate atomic. Like lightning payments are also atomic, but here it's immediate atomicity, delayed atomicity. Payments achieve immediate atomicity simply by signing off a channel state.
Gotcha.
And recipient. So basically, we have two types of payments, like pay to S commitments, and this is when the channel partner, the recipient, has enough liquidity. And second, pay to VTXO, and that's when the channel partner has either no channel or no liquidity, enough liquidity in their channel. In that case, I pay out to a VTXO instead.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It's kind of like Lightning with the ARC fallback.
Yeah.
Lightning payments by default, so it scales. No, you're using the existing liquidity you have. Liquidity you have in your channels, so it scales in terms of liquidity. Versus ARC, it doesn't. Well, unless you're not running on like 24-hour rounds. Here it scales well because it's a channel design. Also, I'm lost.
So, all right, let me prime this with a question then. So, the 64, you were talking about like needing to predetermine the nonces, and you have this like tap leaf tree with all of these preset transactions. So you need to update this once every 64 transactions with a new state for the whole thing, and or when liquidity changes for the individual users. So like, let's say I have a channel with 1 million sat worth of receive. If I'm receiving 1.2 million, the whole state needs to be updated, which means I get a new VTXO and we get an on-chain update and all that good stuff. So that's kind of where the limit of how this scales comes in, is how often does that channel itself need to be refreshed in order to keep liquidity and payments still flowing.
Yeah, that's a good one. So basically, like that's also like distinct design, it's a distinct design choice. Like there's a distinct design. I don't know how to say. Like Lightning, it's you have a channel and it has no expiring theory. Like of course you also an interactive model and check for state updates, but like in theory, channel has no lifetime, right? It's there to be for us. Sit there. It's just it's meant to be there.
There's not a countdown. Like it's just perpetual. Yeah.
Well, in theory, L2 has one, but like no, it's a kind of infinity. You can do it's large enough of a number. But like Lightning has no account number versus we do here. So we have channels with lifetimes. What's an interesting concept to many and maybe surprising, but we have channels with lifetimes and two lifetimes. One, lifetime in terms of the number of state updates the channel can accommodate, right? The channel expires after it hits the 24, like 64. Well, it's in theory, practice is going to be 128, but for simplicity, say 64 state updates. When you hit the 64th state update in your channel, the channel is expired. Then what you need to do is refresh your channel into a brand new, fresh VTXO. You refresh your channel into a new VTXO. Or recipient has no channels, simply like recipient has no liquidity channels, and then you pay out to VTXO or back to yourself to refresh. Same thing. Channel also expires when its lifetime hits like 90 days. Like when you have a channel and it hits, like channels live under a VTXO. So like channel sort of descant from a VTXO, and a VTXO nests under a shared VTXO. And when the shared VTXO expires, the VTXO expire. And when the VTXO expire, the channel expire. And therefore, channel expires when the shared VTXO expires. And that means a channel expires either when it hits 90 days or
64 payments.
It's 64 state updates.
Gotcha.
In your case, you refresh your channel into a fresh one, a virtual one, which has no footprints really. It's virtual. Refresh it, it's atomic, and then you continue to so you refresh, kind of like swapping out your channel liquidity into a new channel. It's kind of like an off-chain to off-chain swap out a virtual channel into a new virtual channel.
Gotcha.
From your own to your own, in a footprint way. And but you have to do it like in regular period, like on a monthly basis, and that's where sort of liveness, interactivity trade-off comes in, which Lightning has something similar. But yeah, the CLT, the delta, I think.
Is there any reason why these also can't be bridged to Lightning, either A, through the ARC provider or the BroLup provider, or even through someone else in the BroLup or the ARC? Like, let's say we both have the same service provider and you're online. Is there any reason we can't do an atomic swap where I pay you in the BroLup and then you pay the Lightning invoice, and only if that payment goes through on the BroLup does the Lightning invoice valid, and vice versa?
Oh yeah, I mean, Lightning has this narrative, right? This glue of all layer 2s, right? So it goes here too. It's Lightning compatible.
I figured that was the case, but I wanted to confirm.
Yeah. Better to double confirm, right? I mean, yeah, sure, it's a Lightning compatible. You can pay to a Lightning wallet or get paid from Lightning wallet. Just a bit of I'm not sure if we are going to support this in the very first version. It's going to be more of a feature, so for some sort of a feature protocol extension thing, because there's a bit of a complexity there. Because it's going to be defrost, like a dynamic frost, and like that dynamic frost like entity also needs to run a Lightning node, and then I guess then you would need PTLCs for that, because HTLCs you need to create a preimage. Well, but how on earth a defrost federation can create a preimage? You would need PTLCs, and that means we would need to wait for PTLCs for that.
Okay.
That's why it would be
that
more
doesn't require a soft fork, though, right? That's just a Lightning.
No, all Taproot. That's a Taproot thing.
Yeah, that's Taproot.
We'll probably need to wait for PTLCs for that. Protocol like extension thing, the interoperability. But it's interoperable with on-chain Bitcoin, like UTXO. Like you could peg in, peg out on-chain Bitcoin. Trust us.
Sweet. Dude.
Yeah, Lightning is complicated.
You've been busy.
Well, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Time flies, really. I have no idea how time flies, really. Time flies. It's this interesting balance.
This is the Swann Bitcoin app, and this is how easy it is to just buy Bitcoin whenever you're feeling like it. And I feel like it right now. And as it shows me right here, I still have $9,388 worth of my $10,000 of Bitcoin buying that has no fees whatsoever. And now I have $10 more worth of Bitcoin. I do this quite often. One of the really great things about Swann is the incredible number of resources they have for learning and understanding anything that you want to know about Bitcoin. And importantly, they're going to teach you why you should not trade. They're not going to encourage you to trade. They are Bitcoin only. If you're looking for an easy and reliable way to get into Bitcoin, if you're looking to put Bitcoin in your IRA, if you're looking to put Bitcoin in your business, if you're looking to do anything around getting on a Bitcoin standard or getting exposed to Bitcoin in your portfolio, check out swannbitcoin.com/guy is my special link, and you will find it very conveniently right in the show notes. What are you most excited about? Like, which one do you think is the better solution, and do you think meets the kind of needs of where you feel the community is going and where people are, the direction that a lot of these tools are building for the L2 proposals?
Oh, well, I don't know really. Like, I can't really speak of the other projects because I'm not keeping that close on other projects really. Like, not necessarily I'm selfish, no. Like, I just not interested really. Like I can barely keep up with my own thing. Because myself, like, I jump from an idea to another tend to, but like I'm settled on this one because I think it kind of checks the boxes and kind of has the kind of is appealing. Because also the smart contract part, we haven't covered that, but like basically it's payments plus smart contracts. Lots of layer 2s emerging lately. I can speak to that scam, I guess. like, oh, no, they're not all scam, but like, I guess they seem to be scams. Like these layer twos emerging, they're all multi-sig, I guess. But like, um, but like, I don't know, really. I don't know. Like, I barely can keep up with my own thing.
Yeah.
I don't really can say much to the other projects. Arc is great. I think Arc is compelling because, again, like if you run a server, it's great, and for
Mhm.
privacy, great. But I mean, I personally don't want to build a mixture myself. Like, I don't have the
Mhm.
balls. No, I'm like, I, I wouldn't do that thing. I'm not as bold as Tiro now. Like,
Mhm. Do you know of a implementation? Like, is there a use? Does somebody have a wallet running with Arc in a test scenario, or like something to play around with?
no, really, no. I haven't been keeping up in Bitcoin space either. I
Yeah.
actually had a bit of a break. Actually, like been months and back to like Bitcoin. I guess 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot have happened since then.
Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah. So they did. I think Arcs have they like released 0.2, which is as a covenantless version and a bunch of other things bundled. It's
Mm-hmm.
cool. It works. It's magic. Really, I mean, I'm really proud of Arc and the program. I
Yeah.
mean, great. I'm glad people are building on it, like building it. I mean, building it, not on it as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, or what's also interesting about Org is it's modular in that like it's not a state channel design. Like it can build like all sorts of use cases. It's not all like you can do on Bitcoin, like escrow payments
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. But like
Mm-hmm.
with Org versus Lightning, it's just payments routing. Well, versus Rollup, well, I mean, with the smart contract stuff, like, you know, Rollup, it's it's a payment rollup.
Mm-hmm.
Well, also got the smart contracts, but like effectively, you can run a virtual machine on top of, like on top. Um, so best way to think of Rollup is like this payment layer. It's a payment layer. It's a layer two. It's an off-chain protocol with
Mm-hmm.
unilateral exits, and it's all public and pros and cons are there. But like on top of the payment layer, we can build. It's more of a layered approach, right? You can build another layer,
Mm-hmm.
the smart contracts layer. And this the smart contracts in this context are not like smart contracts that that you know and think like they're not like as like I mean they're not like fully capable functional smart contracts you think and know and like know. I mean I'm pretty sure Bitcoiner is not quite feeling with smart but like not average DeFi user does. But like smart contracts in this context are more like they don't hold the custody of Bitcoin,
Mm-hmm.
but rather they are facilitators of P2P, like they sort of like they can execute off-chain logics, like conditions, execute smart contracts, and any arbitrary condition
Mm-hmm.
based on payments,
Gotcha.
based on P2P payments.
So essentially, whatever the output of the software is will be kind of like a multi-sig. It's the determining factor in whether or not the exchange happens.
Right. So effectively, yeah, like smart contract checks whether if the payment made or not and what amount
Mm-hmm.
from what to, like and checks it and like executes the condition, whatever
Mm-hmm.
arbitrary condition that is, according to the payment condition, the
Gotcha.
assertion.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it turns out it's a powerful of a primitive. It's quite powerful primitive that it could give you like 90 over percent of DeFi use cases. Like whether it's stable coins, of course you can do stable coins. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been to El Salvador, no one gives a shit about Bitcoin. Let's get real. They all want stables, they all care about stables, some don't even accept Bitcoin. Stable's still a
Mm-hmm.
big thing. I think hyper Bitcoinization is years, decades away from reality. I think we'll get there, but not now. So stables are great. I mean, at least what I see. But I'm a bit of a opportunities myself. Of course, I believe in hyper Bitcoinization. It's going to happen sometime, but not quite now.
I think we greatly overestimate what can happen in like 3 years.
Hmm.
But I also think we underestimate what can happen in 10.
Right. So
And
hard. Yeah.
I have early 2030 to 2034 as like things are moving fast. And I think
Accelerate.
the normalization of it is like I'm not looking 20 years out in my opinion, but that's a different discussion.
A bit of a shorter time frame. Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess it's accelerate. Yeah. Yeah. Things don't go linear, right?
Hmm.
Perhaps an accelerated pace, but yeah, sure. But I mean, yeah, great. I mean, BroLab is a payments rollup. It scales Bitcoin potentially to 4-digit TPS,
Hmm.
potentially. But for the moment, 3-digit TPS, it's great, compelling enough. I guess you could run B2B on Arc and P2P on BroLab.
Hmm.
Great, and run the entire planet. I mean, hopefully,
Yeah.
because there could be certain other concerns around bandwidth and such.
Hmm.
But like in theory, at least, like from pure on-chain footprint, like like point, like that's the entry barrier, right? Like the
Hmm.
upper bound, right? Or the lower bound, yeah, lower bound. Like the block space, at least standpoint, it scales, could scale in theory to like 4-digit TPS.
Hmm.
The optimizations, it's great. I mean, it's ready. We'll be ready hopefully by then. Let's hope. Rollup will be ready by then. Hopefully, like when hyper-Bitcoinization. Well, I mean, depends. But like, for in the meantime, yeah, let's do stables, and that's what people demand apparently. Or you can trade like stables for Bitcoin. Could do like AMMs and order books, the
Hmm.
Bitcoin on Rollup. Um, you could do like inscriptions, NFTs. So like what you can do in BroLab, you can trade NFTs, not necessarily because I'm endorsing NFTs, but because like the thing is like it's a scaling tech. Like BroLab scales
Hmm.
Bitcoin, not only Bitcoin, but it also scales the degenerate use cases
Hmm.
such as NFT trading or transfers, like trading, could build NFT marketplaces and roll up. Like say you have an NFT piece, you could bridge your ordinal into here with a one mate bridge, and you can trade it against Bitcoin. Like trust us, you can have like ordinals Bitcoin, like spot auctions.
Basically atomic swap auctions that are have a third party or whatever that isn't even involved. They can't confiscate the
Right.
exchange.
Process atomic exchanges between
Hmm.
assets in a much scalable way than PSBTs.
Hmm.
Because when you do atomic swaps with PSBTs, that will take like 300 V
Dude,
bytes.
it's
That's,
ridiculous. Yeah.
I think we've seen it, the climate, right? And the
Yeah.
mempool clogging up the network a lot. Versus
Hmm.
Umbrella, if you do it Umbrella, it reduces down to 3 V bytes,
Hmm.
from 300 to 3 V bytes. You
Yeah.
can do trade like assets, like it scales trading degeneracy by 100x. So that's I think overall
Scales trading degeneracy by 100x.
by 100x. Like,
That's the tagline of this episode.
right. I think so. I think that's good for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
That, that's Bitcoin's benefit.
That's always to me like aside from the explicit which I don't think it scales economically from this idea, but there's been so much push to make it as inefficient as possible on Bitcoin, like
Mhm.
almost like a ha ha ha, look what I can do, look how much shit I can put in your park, you know? And so, but the thing is that it doesn't, I don't think it survives like that because you're explicitly incurring a cost for something that has not been able to maintain value. Like you've seen kind of these cycles of the degeneracy comes back or the halving happens and everybody wants to get in
Yeah.
their NFT in the halving block, but then it like tapers off so fast. Like so fast, and nobody wants to pay $2,000 transaction fees to put, you know, a photocopy of their ass on the blockchain. And so whatever market does actually exist, I think the solution is to give them the most efficient place to go be retarded, in my opinion. But whatever, like go do your thing. I don't really care. But on a roll up, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't. It's not. It's not in. It doesn't pollute the chain itself. It uses the chain for the validation and the ownership that they want. So cool. Just build a more efficient thing. And the other
Yeah,
one will just economically commit suicide. So just give it
yeah,
time.
it's quite efficient. Like 3-digit TPS, like non-Bitcoin transaction types,
Mm-hmm.
like trading tokens for tokens,
Mm-hmm.
or like, I don't know, some yield farming, whatever. Like these type of transaction types, it scales up to like 600 TPS as it is, like the protocol by default. Like it scales very well
Mm-hmm.
in terms of like the transactions per second. It does it really well. I mean, surprisingly, and on Bitcoin,
Yeah.
and it's just so surprising, and in like payments plus like smart contracts, all verifiable, public, scalable. Scalable is like it's more scalable with covenants,
Mm-hmm.
of course, because it's a state channel design.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, like the way it works is like, yeah, we have a shared UTXO, which is trustless because
Mm-hmm.
it's bound by N of N music and you're part of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's trustless. But like when you're offline and you don't have enough liquidity in your channel, that's when you receive a channel in terms of a Bayer UTXO.
Mm-hmm.
We call it a lift output in BroLab terms. But like if there are like two ifs. If you're not online and you have not enough liquidity, then you receive a channel. Like
Mm-hmm.
you receive a VTXO in the Bayer form,
Mm-hmm.
UTXO.
And that's basically the one that you need to get an update from. You need to have a
But
copy of.
that's
Yeah.
what Collins solve. That like
Mm-hmm.
that little bit friction, the fallback.
Mm-hmm.
It falls back to a Bayer UTXO,
Mm-hmm.
and it not enough liquidity. The fallback for that little bit fallback option to scale that even further, we need a covenant. And with
Gotcha.
well, it's a state channel design. It's a state update.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And channels live under shared UTXO, especially when you refresh them. When you refresh channels, you refresh them into a fresh one under a new UTXO, shared UTXO. And that's how you're rebalancing, sort of like rebalancing channels, the liquidity.
Mm-hmm.
Because shared UTXO model fixes two things. First, the footprint. Second, rebalancing.
Mm-hmm.
Rebalancing the liquidity. Here, we're not with the shared UTXO model, the covenantless Brollups version, the version
Mm-hmm.
that exists, the idea. It does not solve the footprint problem, right? Because we don't have covenants, and you store it all with the Bayer channels, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have all channels, which only when you refresh them gets into which then like when you refresh the channel, then only it becomes part of the shared UTXO.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's trustless because you
Yeah.
can bound a covenant by N of N, a trustless covenant. And that shared UTXO model not necessarily for scaling again, but for rebalancing. Because the main problem Lightning has is to rebalance the channel, like in terms of on-chain rebalancing. I'm talking about not in
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
like on-chain rebalancing the liquid,
To
like
splice in or splice out. Yeah.
slicing out and in and out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of rebalancing the actual liquidity, splicing in and out, you need an on-chain transaction,
Mm-hmm.
which is not quite efficient. You have a channel, you splice it out, the Neve channels, the remaining channel state.
Mm-hmm.
Effectively, with that splice out, you need to form another channel ideally,
Mm-hmm.
and one in and one out. So, like, it is how many V bytes there? 5 times, say, 40. 200 V bytes
Mm-hmm.
versus here, more
Versus
than
3 or
versus here,
whatever.
it's just an output, just a single output.
Okay.
And it's a lift
Gotcha.
output.
Yeah.
Also, you also need to claim it. Like when you're we have a specific term, lift up. You are lifting a bare output into a virtual, lifting it up.
Yeah.
So when you receive a bare UTXO
Mm-hmm.
called lift output, and you're lifting it up to a virtual. When
Gotcha.
you're online,
Okay.
because online you can lift it up with the covenant you're involving in, the n of n
Mm-hmm.
thick. And the entire process is just one out, one in, sort of like 99 V bytes. No other fields, like all other fields are shared, like n
Mm-hmm.
version, such like the and like log time, they're all shared. It's only like 99 V bytes
Mm-hmm.
to effectively splice out in it.
Yeah.
Versus Lightning, it's probably more than 200 V bytes.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, and that's the fallback. That's the fallback, right? You are
Yeah.
doing in the fallback case. Versus, like, the default case is a channel state update.
Mm-hmm.
But to scale that even further, you need a counter to
Yep.
remove that tiny little bit friction. We need a counter like CTV that I favor.
So what's the state of Brollup? Like, where's development on this? How long have you been working on this?
Yeah, I'm single. I'm building it myself, and I've been doing it for, I think I made it public about 2 months ago. Time flies.
Okay. Yeah.
Doing it for about a month and a
Mm-hmm.
half. So I'm building a library at the moment, like the output types, the entry types, and the tap tree. I built the taproot library myself,
Mm-hmm.
like the taproot library myself. Then realized there is already one in BDK. I'm also writing Rust along the way,
Yeah.
but then I've moved into from library into the defrost parts and the R&D. I'm trying to, my goal for the next few weeks, say, is to build a defrost implementation in Rust for the dynamic federation quorum thing. For the operator, because we need to be able to represent the operator
Mm-hmm.
single key at all times and hard code the prefix, the set of prefix nuances in the pool, the software. Because if the well-known key, the operator key, is to change,
Mm-hmm.
in certain pairs, then the public nonces must also change. That the pool hard coded and we're doing this
Mm-hmm.
again to save bytes and signature by half. The cut bytes by cutting that by half. You need to hard code a set of precyclic nonces, and the defrosting also goes into these nonces, and to keep them hard coded at all times and not update them. It's not the problem is not to update the key. The problem is to update these nonce, the set of nonces. We don't
Yeah.
want to re-update them. We want to like keep them as it is, and like they're immutable. They're hard coded, fixed,
Yeah.
and to
So basically, you know where you are in the sequence, and like it's always a static reference.
it's the
Yeah.
software, right? So the software knows who owns what and what channel. Like it's all public. It's a global state. Maybe you have 3 channels. I have like 6 channels, virtual channels,
Mm-hmm.
and really, it's known by everyone. Your like what's your channel destinations are,
Mm-hmm.
what shows your channels you live in, and what's your channel state is. The state number is how much you own, like in your channel, and your operator owns in a particular channel, and that's how it works. The global state works, right? That's how VM can validate payments, because the VM, the virtual machine, needs to be able to verify payments, right? If I'm to send you sats from my channel to yours,
Mm-hmm.
it needs to be known by everyone. What's everyone's channel destinations are and values
Yeah.
are and numbers are, right? It's all publicly known, and the VM can then validate it and execute, say, conditions accordingly. Let's give an example. I list an NFT for sale on the BroLab, It could be a bridge ordinal, or it could be its own thing. And you have sats. I don't have sats. I just have this asset. I listed on BroLab marketplace and on an NFT marketplace in BroLab. It's a smart contract. And I listed for, say, 1 Bitcoin. And you come along and make a transaction call. You're calling the contract, the my buy method, with the payments, right? It's a payable construct. It's a payable condition. And the contract check, you're paying 1 Bitcoin to me, right? If I have enough liquidity, 1 Bitcoin, it's going to be of type pay to VTXO. You're going to pay a VTXO in a bearer form because I'm offline in the bearer form, and it's a lift output I mentioned earlier. But for enough liquidity, it's going to be in the form of a state update, which is a lot more compact inside. Because you're literally not creating a virtual UTXO and UTXO set, right? It's just...
Yeah. You're just moving inside the tap tree.
So basically, whether it's pay to VTXO or pay to SCOM, S commitment, the contract verifies the payment, and then considers everyone then and credits the NFT, the asset, to you. Now credit it with the NFT. It gives you the ownership. It moves the ownership, because the ownership of a non-Bitcoin asset, it's a client-side thing. It's evaluated within a client-side context, right? Versus Bitcoin, well, of course, Bitcoin can also be evaluated because it's all verifiable publicly. VM knows all channels and the locations of values and states. Everyone knows it. But Bitcoin is also enforceable on chain because you can do unilateral exits. So your coins are enforceable off chain and verifiable off chain. Smart contracts, on the other hand, they are verifiable off chain too, right? That and if you combine the two, like payments and smart contracts, basically data. So you're deriving the payment info from the data, very compact. You're calling the contract. Of course, contract is also byte data deployed back in the history. And VM executes the contract according to the payment if it's made, whether it's pay to VTXO or pay to SCOM. It executes the contract and credits and moves the ownership by asset. Now you're the owner. And then everyone can, you can see it on the block explorer and everyone can validate it. And I'm the owner. I'm the owner of Bitcoin now in the form of virtual coin. It's virtual. And you're the owner of the asset now.
The major use case here is, obviously there's all the, if we wanted to move DeFi onto Bitcoin in some sort of a scalable way, that's clearly something at least that has some sort of a market now in the degeneracy of just token exchange as a market. But what's interesting about this, especially from the context of a smart contract, is that these are arbitrary electronic services, essentially. So because this is totally arbitrary for what code is run, genuinely any kind of market can be run on top of this. Rather than buying an NFT, I love your example, but using me, I will offer you 10. No, I don't want the NFT. I don't want the NFT. I'm not going to pay a Bitcoin for the NFT. Sure. But the funny thing is that this could literally be digital, genuine art. This could be a print for something. This could be download for a movie or a file, access to a key for a file somewhere. It is genuinely arbitrary about what is unlocking this smart contract. If you just have visibility into the code that's unlocking it, this could allow a marketplace, kind of like a BISC type of marketplace, to emerge from this, that can essentially buy and sell anything that has some sort of digital piece of information as its ownership, which from the context of a digital environment, a license key and or a decryption key is like a perfect thing to just attach to this. I mean, good Lord, the number of times I've gotten, all I can think is like for a subscription or for getting access to software or something, this could be like a huge tool because your license key could literally be in the actual payment. It could be the thing that unlocks the payment. So all I ever have to do is go back to the payment in order to get the license key for my software to unlock that or whatever it is. Like DaVinci Resolve, you have to unlock, and I've installed it on my Linux machine and my Mac and like a couple other things. And I have the license key, but I lose it. It takes me like when I'm putting it on a new machine or like I'm swapping machines, it takes me like 30 minutes to find the license key. Sometimes I'm like, God bless, where the hell is it? And it would be cool to actually have it in the marketplace where I was purchasing all of those things, you know, to like actually have it built into the smart contract where my literal receipt number is the thing that unlocks the software or the data.
That's right. I guess it's up to our imagination. That's the limits. Imagination could be degenerate or non-degenerate. I think number one is going to be, I guess, number one is going to be order book, right? Tether Bitcoin order book, right? People's going to trade Bitcoin for dollars. And it's going to be the major number one use case here.
A world with stablecoins is going to be really interesting. It's you know, especially on Bitcoin, and when we have markets like this, like being able to do quote unquote DeFi, a peer-to-peer stablecoin to Bitcoin marketplace, and have a genuine market price that does not have some restriction about border or jurisdiction or some explicit regulatory limit around how it can behave, because it can bridge in any jurisdiction. Its jurisdiction are agnostic. And the interesting thing about that, because it's funny, because I've been talking about this in the last couple of episodes, and I read Mark Goodwin's and Whitney Webb's piece on, I'm not sure if you've heard about this, about the problem with stablecoins in the ability to actually expand, to basically go from the petrodollar to the Bitcoin dollar system, where they can tie that value in the dollar to Bitcoin's rise, such that they can actually bolster the dollar alongside the success of Bitcoin.
Right.
But what's interesting is that this also, at the exact same time, if stablecoins become more prevalent and more directly useful, like I can take a stablecoin to Walmart, or I can pay my contractor in stablecoins, or I can deposit stablecoins into my bank, well, then that it also creates a massive undermining of capital controls and the ability to actually control pricing in the dollar market, which means that something like this in a kind of DeFi setting could provide a massive amount of liquidity that is directly external to direct banking infrastructure, or to a permissioned, like ACH, Bank of International Settlements sort of thing. Like you could basically build your own marketplace. Like you said, is anybody who could run a server. I could run a marketplace between Bitcoin and Tether or whatever dollar stablecoin, and actually be a meaningful amount of liquidity and volume in the global price of Bitcoin versus the dollar. And I can service customers in India, in China, in Hong Kong. Like, it is open like the web. You know, if you can get a connection, you can be a part of that marketplace. And it's weird. It's weird because there is this, stablecoins bolster the dollar, but then they also undermine the control over the dollar market at the exact same time. And something like this means that we can provide service provision. We can build these markets without banks.
Not only build, but also could be our own liquidity provider. Build and provide
exactly
in your own pair, maybe like your own coin, stablecoin version, a partially backed or fully backed, whatever. That you could always provide liquidity, and liquidity could always be there.
Mm-hmm.
And you could effectively pick in and out, and you could basically build contracts that could accept only maybe for whatever arbitrary condition, only your own stablecoin type, right? Of like you could scale that up to, I guess, to any use case. Also, this goes a lot more into, I guess, level of trust and Web5 stuff. Because if you're
Hmm.
you can think of Brollup as really a subset of Web5. Really, so there's
Hmm.
Nostr and there's Brollup too. Because if you're using the npubs here, well, then you leave a footprint behind every transaction you make, and for whatever reason, like any arbitrary condition, like contract we're executing, whether it's plain transfer or contract call, you leave a footprint behind, and that's
Hmm.
part of your identity. That defines you, who you are, really. Uh, um, it's I guess it's up to debate whether it's a good thing or bad, but I mean that's how Nostr works. That's all publicity
Yeah.
by
Hmm.
default. But here's the same: it's publicity. It's all public, and the footprint you leave behind on Brollup, it defines who you are and like your identity. It defines who you are. Again, like just like Nostr, the posts, the interactions you make on Nostr, posts you like, and the post shit posts, like and the transactions you make on Brollup collectively defines who you are. And based on the data, the footprint here is quite like immutable. It's Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Um, and like it defines who you are, and like and then it perhaps it could build like some credits, and like you could do lending, borrowing based on reputation model and such
Hmm.
on Brollup, hopefully. Like i.e. can give people credit scores based on their footprints, and you can basically borrow money, and like you can borrow money people based on your credit score, and it's enforced by the social circle. Like it's not enforced by a law or like it's not enforced by a law, but it's by social pressure. If you think about
Basically,
it,
the value of your reputation
yeah,
is
reputation
that
is at stake.
you kill your ability to do business with anyone else if you revoke a contract. So they're saying that your ability to do business in the future is based on your capacity to pay back what you owe right now,
Right, right.
and you can actually attach those together.
It costs you your reputation. It costs you your
Hmm.
reputation to violate a social contract. See, BroLab
Hmm.
is not only meant for smart contracts; it's also for social contracts of
Hmm.
any kind you can build, and it costs you maybe not collateral because it's not collateralized, but your reputation in
Hmm.
validate a contract, social contract, which is really hard to build and expensive. So
Yeah.
reputation, it's hard to obtain, but it's easy to destroy,
Yeah.
and it's at stake in this type of constructions, and I guess works well. So, and that's unlike we've seen in the Ethereum Web3 space. Like we call it Web5 for a reason, right? And there's a lot more to it, right?
Yeah.
It's not only degeneracy, there is a lot more to it. Uh, hopefully we'll see the use cases emerging in Brollup. Of course, we have to first ship Brollup,
Yeah.
right? It's the hard thing. It's a pain in the ass, really. Shipping things, it's really hard. You know,
That's the hard part. That's the hard part.
Bitcoin culturally tend to, build fast, not build fast, break fast, but to build slow and steady, culturally.
Hmm. Yeah.
To get things right, and because it's a single shot thing, I guess. But like,
Well, we can go ahead and just implement CTV and get that soft fork in next week, and then things will move right along. We'll just push that through.
yeah, again, like, yeah, yeah. I think Brolin could be a good champion for CTV. I think it's a compelling enough of a use case, really. I believe. Uh, to activate CTV because Brolov is first of its kind. Really,
Hmm.
it's timeout tree implementation. If you think about it, I don't think there is any other timeout tree implementation out there. Well, Orc is categorically a timeout tree, but like
Hmm.
I'm talking about timeout tree in the sense that Lightning plus expired outputs, right? So
Yeah.
it's effectively a timeout tree, and I guess that's way to scale Bitcoin. Well, Orc like for scale Bitcoin for P2P and to
Hmm.
scale Bitcoin for B2B or P2B org is the way, right?
Hmm.
Because you can. the moment, as long as you can opt into a reactive model by running a server,
Hmm.
you get the benefit, the privacy benefits, the scalability too. Because Arc in 24-hour rounds could be more efficient than timeout trees. Because in timeout trees, it's still a lightning design,
Hmm.
although it gets spliced out and rebalanced or whatever in certain periods. It's still, liquidity is still there for a moment, for some time, unutilized. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Some liquidity there sits there for a certain period, but versus Arc, well, it's just day.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
like, it really depends on the use
Rolls
case.
over really quick. Yeah. But we were kind of hitting the point where we were talking about where this is going to be going in, the coming like year, and where your development is headed, and the work that you're doing, and what we can apply this thing to. So how about we just, because we're dead on battery here, let's give some closing thoughts and kind of what you're hopeful for where this is going, and then also tell people where they can find you and explore Arc and that sort of stuff.
Right. So yeah, you can reach me out on Twitter and Brock. I guess it's quite a unique name by itself. Like I'm this like burger eating bug profile on Twitter. So you can find me. You can feel free to reach out to me in DM if you have any questions, or if you're interested in learning more about BroLab, you can go visit BroLab.org, like brollup.org. You can find some
Rollup.org.
on some if you're interested. You can learn some protocol stuff there, or you could reach out to me personally. We also have a community Telegram group, BroLab community. Yeah, feel free to join and ask questions. Any questions that you might have, happy to help. It's exciting times overall. I mean, exciting times to be in Bitcoin as always. It's exciting times. Lots happening in Bitcoin. So I guess it's becoming really hard to keep up with things in Bitcoin. Day after day, like after week, month after month. Like
Yeah.
lots happening and exciting times, and common discussions are heating up too. I'm overall optimistic. Um, I mean, I think BroLab is a worthy of an idea to implement and work on. I guess it's just worth building, something worth building and contributing to. I think.
Yeah.
Uh, I guess uh, you know it's overall good for Bitcoin. I think it scales Bitcoin in many ways and brings use cases to Bitcoin. It works as it is. No protocol changes needed. So I'm excited about it, and I'm optimistic. I'm gonna just, all it takes is to ship. I guess, yeah, Arc Lab's doing a great job shipping Arc, and I'm working on Brollup, which is another thing. Um, and overall optimistic about it, but like, it's gonna be a long journey for sure. But
Yeah.
again, it's at least worthy of an
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of crazy because we're getting so many layer 2 ideas, and even state chains are kind of becoming like, I'm starting to see those roll out in actual implementations as well. We've got Arc, we've got Brollup now, we've got a Lightning, obviously. Then there's a couple of other iterations of improvements to Lightning. Then there's this hedgehog idea that is kind of taking a big part of what you did with Arc and how you created the VTXO idea.
Yeah,
So there's literally, and then you put on top of that Fedimint and eCash and all of these other
whole
like
bunch
kind of
of
like pseudo like multi-sig things. It's
yeah.
just, it's exploding wide. Like it's going horizontal very, very quickly, and it's going to be very, very exciting to watch what kind of rises from that as like major use case tools. And I think one of the things that Brollup and even Arc really have going for them is the degree of software and just kind of like programmability, agnostic to program, that can be built, like smart contracting systems and stuff that can be built on top of it. And that's really exciting, because I think that's something that's been wholly untouched. It's extremely nascent when it comes to using that for Bitcoin. because the only use case so far has essentially been trading shitcoins. And so that's been off of Bitcoin. So I'm really interested to see what comes of it outside of the explicit shitcoin market.
Yeah.
What else can we apply this to? So it's super exciting. Dude, thank you so much for coming on and breaking down the details with me.
My pleasure, really. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, man. Great to have you on, and maybe in another year we'll roll back around and get an update on where Brollup is, and we'll get to see a year of ARC as implemented as something that can actually be used. That's also something to just point out for everybody. You can use ARC. You can explore now. You can go look at that code and you can deploy it. And if you're trying to build a wallet or something, that's something to absolutely consider, to look into, because we haven't seen this in action yet, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, it's still in the ideation phase and need lots to build. I'll be more than happy to join again here, like this show, maybe in a year or two. You never know.
You never know. You never know, man.
All
Dude,
right, guys.
Thank you for what you build. Thank you for joining me. And I'll catch you on the next one. Later, boss. I hope you enjoyed that episode, and don't forget to check out Burak to follow everything that he is doing and to dig deeper into these tools. We have a lot of different links in the show notes to Arc Labs, to I think there's a write-up on Brollups. I'll try to get together everything and make sure that we have everything that you need to dig into all of this much further. And also look into CTV. I have a bunch of Bit 119 stuff to explore, and this is something that we'll probably pull back. We'll bring back onto the show to talk about, just because I think everybody's just waiting for something to happen. And I still think CTV is, same thing with what Burak said. I think CTV is the way to go, and it's the most mature and most tested version out there. And it just kind of needs a push. And he makes a really great point as well, that it needs a product, it needs a protocol or a tool in order to champion it, to say, if we do CTV, this will be possible. And this is what we want to do. So check it out, explore all the links, and follow Burak. He's Brock on BROCK, I believe, on Nostr, but I'll have his Impub so that you can check it out. And don't forget to give a shout out. Use my CoinKite link to get your cold card, plus my discount code. That lets them know that I sent you. And of course, you get to hold your own keys and actually know that you own it. And, you don't be a moron and leave your Bitcoin on an exchange. You withdraw it and you hold it on your own cold card on a solid, secure hardware wallet. And of course, you get a discount. You don't buy things without a discount if you have a discount. So you'll find that all right in the description of this show. So with that, thank you guys so much for listening. This is Bitcoin Audible. I am Guy Swann. And until next time, everybody, take it easy, guys.